What's going on, y'all? Machiavelli Mills TV. So look, yesterday I made a video and I was like criticizing Scap Attack for his criticisms of Jamal Murray because he was trying to act like Jamal Murray is trash and he's garbage and he's not good in order to prop up Nikola Jokic. And Nikola Jokic does not need that, right? Jokic is a great player and it's evident with the 3 MVP trophies that he's won. So you don't have to diminish the talent around Jokic to make him seem like he's just otherworldly because he's already a great player in his own right, right? And yet and still, if a LeBron James fan would diminish the talent around LeBron James to make LeBron James look better, he would have a heart attack. He would be on his video having an aneurysm. The brother would be he would be acting a fool on the video if a LeBron James fan did what he did to Jamal Murray in order to prop up Nikola Jokic. And I think it's really disingenuous because everybody knows that Jamal Murray is the closer on the Denver Nuggets. He's hit pivotal shots for them to advance and win critical games in playoff performances. You know what I mean? So to act like he's garbage and he's trash is just disingenuous to me all around, and he knows better, right? But anyway, when I made my video going at Scap Attack, I saw people in my comments and people in the comments of his video saying Jamal Murray ain't good. He never even made an all-star team. And see, this is where people that don't know basketball, this is where they get tripped up at. You can be a great player, a very good player, and never make an all-star team depending on who the other players at your position is in your conference, right? If you have a Pantheon great future Hall of Famer at your position, you're not going to make the all-star team. You got several players, especially when they're the first options on their team, right? Because during Jamal Murray's tenure, guess who's been the all-stars in the Western Conference at the shooting guard position? You've had Klay Thompson, you've had Devin Booker, you've had James Harden, Paul George played shooting guard at times. You had Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Anthony Edwards. These guys are number one options on their teams. Jamal Murray is not. So even though Jamal averaging 20 a game, he's not going to make the all-star team because he in there competing against Shai Gilgeous-Alexander averaging 30. Klay Thompson that was going crazy with, the Golden State Warriors and they were winning. You know what I mean? Anthony Edwards, number one option. Devin Booker was a number one option for years. James Harden was a number one option going crazy for years. Paul George, he played shooting guard sometime. He was number one option, especially when Kawhi hurt. He be the number one option. So, just because a player doesn't make the all-star team does not mean they aren't good. For instance, and just because a player makes an all-star team does not mean they are great players. I never thought Kyle Lowry was a great point guard. I never thought he was a great guard. I never did, right? But he was good, and the point guard, the guard play in the Eastern Conference, especially the point guard play, was so bad at times, it was not good, that he was just making all-star teams by default, averaging Kirk Heinrich numbers. Brother making all-star teams averaging 14-6, 15-6. Like Kirk Heinrich was doing that in the early 2000s, and he would never make an all-star team averaging that back then, right? But because the point guard play in the Eastern Conference was so watered down, he was making all-star teams. Man, Kyle made 5 all-star teams. You know what I mean? He got more all-star nods than Derrick Rose. And again, I know a lot of it is due to D Rose getting hurt in his later years. But I'm saying, if in the early 2000s, late 90s, stuff like that, Kyle Lowry wouldn't be no all-star. But he was making them by default. And you ain't going to tell me that Kyle is better than Jamal Murray. You're not going to tell me that he's more of a pivotal piece to a team than Jamal Murray has been. You're not. And I'm not even trying to disrespect Kyle Lowry. He does his role and he plays it well. But Kyle ain't never been no super all-star, perennial all-star guard to me to be making 5 all-star teams, bro. No. Reggie Miller made 5 all-star teams, bro. Kyle ain't better than Reggie Miller. He not. I don't even care if he got a championship, He wasn't the leading dude on that team when they won the championship. Kawhi Leonard was. You know what I mean? So Reggie Miller got 5 all-star teams. And so does Kyle Lowry. All in the Eastern Conference. So because a player isn't an all-star does not mean they aren't good. For example, it was years Jalen Rose was going crazy with the Indiana Pacers, right? He should have been an all-star. But he never made it because of the players at his position at the time. It is all depends. You could be a very good player. Very good. Borderline, very great player. But if you got perennial Pantheon greats at your position, you're not going to make the All-Star team. That does not mean you're not good. So that whole Jamal Murray never been an All-Star, that doesn't mean anything to me when he's in the same conference as Anthony Edwards. James, he was in that same conference as James Harden when James was in Houston, right? In the same conference as Klay Thompson before Klay got all them injuries piled up on him and all of that, right? These are guys who are future Hall of Famers, and a lot of these guys, first options. Paul George been a first option for times when he was playing shooting guard, right? Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is a first option on his team. Jamal Murray is not a first option because he over there with Nikola Jokic. And so even though he averaged 21.2 points a game last year, it ain't good enough to make an All-Star team for him. Like, for real. And especially, you know, I'm going to say this. They was giving Kyle Lowry them All-Star nods because Toronto Raptors had a good record. And so they were like, oh, here you go. You averaging 14 and 6. But it was okay, Kyle. You still an All-Star in our eyes. Like, no. Kirk Harry was averaging, Kirk had a year where he averaged 16 points and 6 assists. Did not come close to being an All-Star because of the players at his position. You know what I mean? So it all depending on who is at your position in that conference during the time you're trying to make it. Mike Conley, very good point guard. I think Mike made one All-Star team maybe. And it's because of all the point guard play in the Western Conference was super dynamic. Steph, Russell Westbrook, now, like, you know what I mean? Ja Morant, all of that. Like, you got all these big dogs in that conference that was point guards. Chris Paul, he wasn't going to make it over them because these guys are future Hall of Famer, perennial All-Stars and future Hall of Famers and first options on their squad most of the time. You know what I mean? So you can't judge a player by them not making All-Star teams because if you want to keep it a buck, and a lot of y'all may hate to hear this, Steven Jackson should have been an All-Star when he was with the Charlotte Bobcats. Him and Gerald Wallace he averaged a dub over there in Charlotte and got them to the playoffs alongside Gerald Wallace. Then when he was in Golden State, he was averaging 21 a game, 21 a game over there. You know what I mean? When they made the playoffs, I mean, they was 8th seed, but they was winning like 50 games. Or nearly 50 games with the Warriors. He never made an All-Star team. And y'all would think Jack was trash. But if you look at Jack numbers, Jack could really score the rock. He could shoot the ball. And he helped the Spurs win that championship when they beat the New Jersey Nets that time. I watched that game live. So you can't judge a player by that All-Star nods all the time. I'm sorry.